rüber zu einem ganz anderen Thema, nämlich zur Risikobereitschaft und damit zum Global Creative Director von Publicis Italy, Mihnea Gheorghiu.
Genau, den habe ich schon in mehreren Jurys kennengelernt, war tief beeindruckt. Ihr müsst euch mal vorstellen, ein Kreativer traut sich, eine Kampagne für Diesel zu machen, in der die Marke mal eben zu DIESEL umnennt und bewusst mit dem Image von gefälschten Produkten spielt. Aber der Mihnea, der hat schon weltweit die größten Marken bearbeitet und ist dafür auch vielfach ausgezeichnet worden. Der hat sich das nicht nur getraut und die Kampagne wurde sofort zum viralen Hit. Der hat auch noch andere Sachen für euch dabei. Und ihr lernt mit ihm zusammen, wie man Nein sagt, um neue Dinge und neue Wege aufzumachen. Er ist der perfekte Nein-Sager.
Also in dem Meeting, wo er das vorgestellt hat, ne, da wäre ich ja super gern dabei gewesen.
Ich auch. Oh.
Gut, also hier ist Mihnea Gheorghiu mit seinem Talk Love Risk. Und ich sag's noch mal ganz kurz, vergesst nicht, den Chat zu nutzen. Ihr könnt ihm direkt Fragen stellen. Er mag super gerne schwierige Fragen, das ganz besonders gerne. Safety Third, hier ist er!
That's saying hello. I'm Mihnea from Pitești. It's a small town next to Bucharest in Romania. This is where I was born and raised in this beautiful communist cupcake. And after this, I've lived and worked in Bucharest, Hamburg, Paris, London, Madrid, Toronto, New York, Amsterdam, and Milan. If we'll be ever able to go back there, I think we're going to have to walk there at some point. In the past years, I kind of noticed that the world is full of people trying to break the internet, no matter how. Like, some people do campaigns, they hope, you know, they get the most talked about thing. You know, some people just do memes or TikToks or, you know, pretty crazy things. And let's look a bit at the internet. I mean, everybody kind of knows it by now. But if you think about it, it's like an ever-growing, ever-changing ball of things, right? It just grows and grows and grows by the second. We'll never know it all. Like, you need to have 5 lifetimes. You'll never be able to travel from corner to the other corner of the internet because it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. You'll never know how it reacts. So no matter what you do, no matter how much time you spend, you know, like cosmetizing it and like making sure that you're saying the right thing, it might all go to shit because somebody somewhere in a corner of the world is bringing something up that you never thought about, and then the whole thing fails. At the same time, you might just put something on and then the next day it explodes, right? And becomes the most viral thing ever. And by the time you think you know what it is, it's already something else. So what can we do, right? I mean, how are we going to get noticed? How are we going to do anything that's worth people's while in this environment? As I was saying before, you have never any idea of how will things work and if they will. But practically, what's clear to me is that we're all fighting for attention. It's just this one giant stage where we are like, look at me, I'm doing this, look at me. So, welcome to today's presentation, which is called Love Risk and Why I Think Safety Won't Work in a World That's Fighting for Attention. This presentation has 4 main points, and we're talking about the 4 main attention grabbers that I kind of noticed and I take in consideration when we do work, and with the work we've done here in Publicis. I'm going to open with my favorite, and strangely enough, I think it's the most ignored one when you talk about doing something for the online world, and that is craft. It's true, the most viral things, the most talked about things on the internet look kind of crappy because, they're mostly made by wonderful people in their kitchens, and it's TikToks and memes and UGC and kind of like recycled content, and it kind of like gets a new meaning through a joke and so on. And that's great, that's wonderful. But then you have a problem with the brands coming and telling you, I want that. It's cheap, it's fast, Why can't we do it? Why can't we be loved by like all these people who are famous on TikTok and so on? The truth is that as a brand, you kind of start with a minus 5,000 level handicap, and you got to try way harder, right? Because no matter how hard brands try, they will never be perceived as people. You know, it's always like, haven't you had enough of like brands coming like, hey, how are you doing, fellow millennials? We are actually your friend. Shut up, brands. You're not my friend. You're not a person. I know you're a group of people, but stop acting like my friend, because you're not. However, brands can and have the power to do something great, and that is they can make you feel something. And the best way to do this is through craft. And it's the thing I always say, that craft is the best compliment you can actually make to your audience. Because you have 3 seconds, right? Or somebody's going to scroll past you. What are you going to do? You're definitely not going to like shove your branding in a person's eyes, because nobody's going to care. Everybody, if anything, they're just going to scroll faster. You know, so you can do that through craft. I'm going to show you a first example of how craft can get you attention, and it's basically failing every single recommendation of successful digital advertising. First of all, it's like 2 minutes and 20 seconds. It's 16 by 9. There is no branding in the first second. You don't really know who's doing it until the end. It's highly relying on sound, and yeah, and we just dumped it like on Facebook, and it kind of worked. It was an amazing collaborative effort, and the way you get to craft is by collaboration. You can never do something great alone. And I have like this little scheme and how like collaboration can mean a lot of things. And there are two ways in which collaboration is kind of like misunderstood. One is one extreme, when it's like, we're going to collaborate with an artist. Basically, you're going to pay an artist to like draw something, and then you put a logo at the end of it, and it's like, ta-da, collaboration. No, that's not collaboration. That's literally marking your brand on something that some talented person did. And then there's the other extreme of it, where you kind of like hire somebody who's extremely talented in whatever they're doing, and you tell them exactly what to do, you know. Why the fuck did you hire him? So I think the collaboration is kind of like finding the balance in between these two. It's always about coming like, you know, you let him do his thing, but then you come up with, okay, this is beautiful, but it's not really on the brand, or this doesn't, it's very hard to understand. Let's find a place for it later, and so on. And usually, the bigger the tension you have in between the parts, the better the result. Because, as I was telling you before, you can never do something great alone, ever. The second very important attention grabber is a story. And I cannot stress this enough. I know it's already becoming like, duh, people love stories, we get it. It's like, yeah. But I'm surprised to see that today the story always kind of takes a back seat. And I can understand why. Because if you look at the world a bit, you know, look at those two hamsters. This is us, like running. You know, there's something that I like to call innovatophobia. It's the fear that somebody somewhere is gonna innovate faster than you, right? So what you do then, you kind of like rely on buzzwords. And these buzzwords, we all fucking know them. I call them formats. And it's all that is like, vertical, 6 seconds, we did an AR, AI combined with a drone that this, but, you know, it might sound like an interesting beginning of a press release for something that you want your peers in the industry to read. out of sheer envy and nothing else. But real people out there, they don't give a fuck that you did a vertical campaign. They only care about the way it's crafted and the story that you're giving them. So the thing with formats is that they're nothing but a language. And just like with any other language, anybody can learn it, but not everybody can fucking say something interesting, right? So my advice to you is that in a world of formats, be a story. Do people brag about creating the first ever AI-driven, but you try to first figure out what's the story that you're going to say and how well you're going to craft it. And then you can apply all these formats as filters at the end. Because yes, formats do work. They're proven to work. But the idea and the story, the reasons people will watch it are not in the length of it, are not in the fact that you used an AI or an AR or, I don't know, holograms and all kind of weird Star Trek shit. The next example is another story, another piece of the Go With The Flow campaign that we've done with our friends in Publicis New York. And it's again ignoring and defying all existing formats. At the time we were told, okay, we got it. You got your 2 minutes piece out. Now let's do this. So we did this story in New York. It was a 2.5 minute film. It was never made for cut downs. It was relying highly on dialogue. There was some branding somewhere in the beginning, but it was the wrong branding. So, and it worked. Well, yeah, really everything could have gone wrong. Of course, you look at it now, you think, yeah, that's funny. I mean, we knew it's funny, but it could have gone wrong in so many ways. And not only from ignoring the formats and everybody on the internet ignoring us because we didn't do a 3-second ad, but somebody could have said, oh, $5 for a diesel, that's a fair price, finally, not 400 euros. But for some reason, it worked. People loved it. It took off, and it became kind of viral. It's very interesting. We live very interesting times, and it's the best time to do communication because the way things are moving now on the internet, it can be both your best friend and your worst enemy. Your best friend, and I'm going to tell you why, because it kind of like relieves that pressure of that fear of failure, because every 3 days there's something amazing coming up. So if you do something bad, people are going to forget about it. They're going to like focus on something amazing that's going to come up tomorrow. At the same time, it's your worst enemy because you might be doing something great and you might just launch it on the day when the royal baby is born. Nobody's gonna give a shit, it's great, everybody loves it, but 2 days later something even better is gonna show up, it's gonna appear, and everybody's gonna like talk about that. And you, who've invested like 6 months, 10 months into doing that, you just got like you're just gonna feel kind of abandoned and like, why are you doing this job for? It's like, really, we make so much effort just for like a day and a half of like likes and views? Wow. So anyway, this is the best time to do communication. So if you think you're doing things you're afraid of, it's probably the best time to do this, because there's no point in wasting your time on playing it safe. The biggest waste of time is not to do something great, spend 6 months doing it, perfecting it, and then it comes out, people love it for a day, and then everybody forgets about it. The worst thing is to spend 6 fucking months on something and cutting and slashing and testing and retesting, and then you put it out there and nobody gives a damn because it's bland, it's safe, and it's okay. That's the worst thing you could possibly do. Playing it safe. Which leads me to the third attention grabber, which is bravery. As I was telling you earlier that there's no way in hell you can fool people into thinking that brands are people. Well, bravery is the closest thing that's going to get you to that. Because the moment a brand kind of like communicates with balls, but it's not just like, hey, let's just be super punk rock for the sake of it. No, if you are brave, and you're saying like, I stand up for this thing. And it's a bravery in your field, because the diesel bravery can be very different than bravery for banks or for tampons, right? But if you're brave in your field, people are gonna listen to it. Of course, some people are gonna hate it, or they're gonna hate you, they're gonna be mad. But those who will love you, they will stick with you. And this is what you want. Rather than 10 million people ignoring you, better have 1 million people who will love you. The biggest problem in our industry nowadays, I think, is like many people think, very few people do. A lot of people have ideas, and it's not, if you look at it, it's gonna look like, oh, very few people are smart, the rest are idiots. That's not true. Everybody's fucking smart. Everybody can come up with a great fucking idea. Not many people do it, right? Fucking hell, cab drivers have amazing ideas. Bartenders have amazing ideas. My grandma has amazing ideas. The only difference between them and our industry is that they don't really have the power to do something about it. Like they do it. And in our case, the biggest killer of great ideas is safety. Because safety is the first one that gets in the way of doing. You're thinking always like, oh my God, but what if it fails? How can we make this to not upset, but maybe, but how, but... And you end up either not doing it or doing a very bland, safe version of it that doesn't have 1% of the bite your initial idea had. So I think that it's more important, like, let's see what happens to what we think, This is the perfect launchpad. The internet today is the perfect launchpad for seeing what happens to your ideas out there in the wild. It doesn't cost anything to just like put it out there. See, people might love it, hate it. You're gonna learn a lot from it. And it's way better to see what happens to what you think than fucking wasting a lot of time thinking about what will happen. The next project we're gonna see is a launch film from Fall Winter 19, Diesel. It's called Enjoy Before Returning. And in my opinion, it's probably the bravest project we've done yet for Diesel. Let's watch it.
Any items acquired can be returned, with all tags still attached and in their original packaging. All products offer bare identification label and must be tried on without removing the tag. The products must be in the same condition they were received in. The clothes must not show signs of use, wear, wash, or damage in any way. Well, anyway, all items have to be returned with the labels in order to be accepted. So in case of buying, wearing, and returning clothes, remember to enjoy before returning.
Right, so a bit of background. I mean, we all know about returns. It's our legal right to return what we bought in under 14 days for a full refund. It works on the online retail, it works in-store. Problem is that, the fashion industry and the retail industry are kind of losing $4 billion every year because of this. And then there is the act of wardrobing, especially in the fashion industry. Because people buy a lot of expensive clothes. They wear it for fancy events or for the weekends or fashion week parties. And then when the fashion week is over, they return it, full refund, thank you. And most of the brands, this is something they would never, ever in their lives say, hey, you can return it, why not? But Diesel realized, this is a behavior, this is something that kind of appeared naturally and it continued. So trying to blame that, trying to fight that is just like trying to prevent people from drinking water, It's something that comes so naturally to people that you cannot fight it anymore. So why fight it? Just fucking embrace it. You know what? We know you're gonna return clothes, but fucking have fun, enjoy them. Don't hide it. Everybody's doing it. It's okay. So, of course, when it came out, it was a big boom, and a lot of people talked about it. It was mostly positive, but of course there were those people online going like, with comments that would freak out every client, like, you're crazy, people will return everything. Well, what do you know? At the end of the Fashion Week cycle, so after all the parties ended, the returns dropped 9%. And then there were those people who said, you're going to bring Diesel to bankruptcy. Look, this is it. Diesel is just going to close. Well, what do you know? At the end of the Fashion Week cycle, in like 1 month and a half of like all the global fashion weeks, sales went up 24%. And the interesting thing is that half of those sales that went up came from new customers. People who never thought about buying Diesel before. Maybe it was not for them. Maybe they thought of it as a has-been. Who knows? The important thing is that they bought Diesel, they saw this, and then they said, okay, this is funny. I might as well just give it a try. And they tried it, and they didn't bring them back. It was kind of like a test drive for clothes. So it's really interesting that sometimes bravery can mean a lot of things, right? Can come from the brand, can talk about something that's going on in the world, and many times can be an idea, like the last idea you would do for a brand, like you wouldn't propose it even if somebody held a gun to your head, and sometimes it's worth investigating, like what's the worst thing this brand could do at this moment, and not just take it and dump it out there, but with the right wording you could like turn it around and discover that there is a real diamond hidden into something you would have never thought that would work. And it's quite refreshing and reassuring to see that, these things do work sometimes. And moving into the fourth and the last point of the presentation, another main attention grabber is speed. And this is probably more important than ever today because, let's face it, I have no idea what the fuck is going to happen in 3 months from now, okay? We don't know. When are we going to shoot? Are we still going to shoot? Will, certain events still make sense? Will there be concerts this year? I don't know. And if you do want to be involved in the communication, and if you have something to say, or if you want to stand up for something, you want to help, you got to be fast. You cannot go and say, yeah, this sounds great. Let's follow our usual process of 6 months. In 6 months time, everything might be like back to normal or not, or we might be kidnapped by aliens, who knows? Life just got a whole lot more interesting. So speed is super important. You'd usually think that having a lot of time seems like a luxury. Even more, the more time you can have all the months in the world and you can have like a dedicated team to like fucking perfect it and just make it perfect and incredible. And after 7 months, there's still no guarantee that what you're doing is going to work. Because in this time, somebody else might do it, or, another crisis comes, and then all of a sudden, everything that you've worked for 7 months is becoming useless and irrelevant. So, having more time doesn't really bring a lot of good things to the table. So I like when things happen fast, because simply you do more, you learn more. I always thought that you learn more by doing than just staying in a room and turning it trying to solve everything. You see little Rubik cubes everywhere, just fucking do it and see what happens to it. That's what's going to help you learn more than just thinking about how to do it perfectly. You cannot predict what's going to happen to it. So the more you do, the more you learn. And this is very, very, very important in the long run. And when we're talking about speed, it's really important to surround yourself with doers and not with doubters. sometimes, some people are too smart for their own good, because they look at something and they're kind of trained to like foresee every possible problem or risk there is to something, and that, you're going to get into the safety gets in the way of doing. And I know the theme of the festival is saying no pushes the world forward. I agree, but I would like to add that, if you say no, always give an alternative for how to do it, because if I go to somebody and they tell me no, it can be done, we're not really going anywhere from there. But if I go to someone and he tells me no because this is stupid, I've done something like this before and it didn't work, here's how to do it better and let's fucking do it now, then yes. Otherwise, I'll pick a guy going like, yeah, let's do it, fuck it, let's see what happens. I would pick that guy every single day. The most interesting thing about speed is that it will make you realize that you're more resourceful than you think. Because you're gonna do something in 7 days, you're gonna be like, you're gonna be kind of scared, and am I doing what's going on? Everything is gonna look the same at some point. You're gonna doubt yourself, you're gonna hate your life. But once it's out and it's working, you're gonna look back at the last 7 days and you're gonna be like, I had no idea I could do this. And that, my friends, is like realizing live in real time how you've learned something. Which usually happens, when I look at like a year ago, if you had told me that, I'm talking about 1 week, and that's amazing. And of course, I was talking about fear earlier, because when you're kind of working fast and you're doing something, brave, and you're not sleeping nights to craft things the best way you can, you're gonna hit fear and anxiety. You're gonna wake up in the middle of the night with like panic attacks, thinking, oh my God, I'm gonna fuck up my career. I'm gonna send this client to bankruptcy. Well, I urge you to take these as awesome indicators, because it's actually the fear and anxiety that kind of like tell you that you're doing something great. You're doing something you haven't done before. And this scares most people, pretty much everybody. And that's fine. It's a great indicator that you're doing something else, something different, and which is already a huge step forward. And, in case everything else fails, work hard and be nice to people. This will always, always, always work, and will eventually get everybody to some work that's gonna fight in the battle for attention, that's gonna win in the battle for attention. So be happy you're activating in this domain, and be excited about what's to come. It's going to be awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. See you when I see you. Bye.